Hello, and welcome to the Vicars Watch Dibley,
the podcast where real priests talk about pop culture and what we've learned about faith life in the church. We've watched Dibley, now we're watching everything else. I'm Kate.
I'm Ross.
And I'm Ruthie, and today we are discussing Die Hard and the age-old question, is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Holly hello to you all.
Hello! Ho, ho, ho!
Ho, ho, ho.
Now I have a machine gun. Thank you.
We're in our vicarages and you're listening in. We're ready and raring to talk about Die Hard.
Yippee-ki-yay!
Is it a Christmas movie? We'll find out. But first, hey friends.
Hi.
Hello!
It's nearly Christmas. What are you excited about? What's coming up for you that makes you jolly?
Well, I'll tell you one thing I am looking forward to so much, because when I first arrived in one of my villages, they have a Christmas tree light switching on thing every year. And they do it in a park, and in the park there is a shelter that is just the perfect shape for not a major stable.
You have a grotto.
And since being there, I was like, we need to do an open-air nativity. We need to do something, like, with these Christmas lights being switched on. We need to do something. So this year, finally, we think we're going to do it. I'm going to, with some of the upper years from a primary school, who are going to be there anyway, we're going to do a little mini nativity skit/tableau. And we're thinking of, like, giving people lanterns, and then we'll sing some Christmas carols, and there'll be mulled wine and mince pies. I'm so excited by it.
That sounds really cute.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Yeah.
Ruthie, what's going down up your way?
Down up my way. Well, actually, by the time this episode has come out, it will have finished, hopefully, and hopefully it will have happened. There's plans for a Christmas tree festival where different businesses and schools and charities in the area are being invited to have a tree in church and for other people to come and see what's going on and hopefully raise a bit of money for the church, as well as being jolly festive. So I'm excited about that. That's going to be good.
Yeah.
Great.
What about you, Ross?
This is going to be my first Christmas at the cathedral. By the time this has happened, we'll have had our big From Darkness to Light service, which is all about Advent. It's a big Advent service.
Nice.
And we get people travelling from all over the world who come to this service. So that will be very exciting to be a part of. But I'm very excited for the Christmas Eve family crib service, which I am responsible for. And
Fun.
I'm a bit terrified about it because so many people turn up. We have to do it twice.
Wow, yeah.
And there's a live donkey, we're going to have live babies, we're going to have some modern music thrown in there. Yeah, I'm really excited, but I'm also feeling the pressure.
Yeah. I'm excited and stressed for you.
Yes.
Thank you!
Sounds great.
But, there's something incredibly magical about Christmas services at a cathedral. My dad started cathedral stuff when I was a teenager. And cathedral Christmas, it is a production and really can go like the extra mile compared to parish.
Yeah, it's fascinating putting together a service and knowing what resources I have. And knowing that I have resources to draw upon.
Yeah.
Not that we're jealous at all.
Not jealous at all. I really like the years when my siblings come down to spend Christmas with this side of the family, because then I've got resources in the form of nieces and nephews for a crib service, and I don't have to scramble so much to find children to fill the roles.
Yeah. Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
It's funny, these kind of things. Like, I want to go visit all my vicar friends and go do their stuff, but I'm busy doing other stuff.
Yeah.
So it's really annoying.
That's the curse of being a priest at Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But speaking of Christmas...
Yeah. Talking about people who have stressful Christmases. Today we're talking about Die Hard.
Yeah!
Hooray! So, let's just touch base on the movie. Kate, you've brought this to us, haven't you?
Yes, so let's name it. One of the reasons we're talking about this now is because of the online debate about whether Die Hard is a Christmas movie. And we're going to try and answer that with some deep theological reflection at some point, maybe as well. Maybe not. Lots of fun as well. So, Die Hard, if you are not familiar, is a 1988 movie starring Bruce Willis and Alan Rickman as well, and various other people.
May he rest in peace.
And rise in
May he
glory.
rest in peace. And it's about a New York cop who his wife moved to LA because she got a job out there, and he didn't move with her. And he's arrived for Christmas, and he arrives at her office building for the Christmas party.
Yakitomi Plaza.
At the same time as some terrorists strike the building.
Happy Christmas Eve, everybody.
Being the badass New York cop that he is, he fights the terrorists in the building while the LA cops are ineffectual outside.
It's such a dumb plot, isn't it?
Let's start with what's our background, each of us, with this movie. When did we first see it? What do we feel about this movie?
Well, I first watched this film in preparation for this podcast.
Are you joking?
Last week. I am not joking. I had never watched Die Hard before last week.
What?
And I knew a lot of the references, but I didn't... it just wasn't in the house when I was growing up. And it was fun to watch it. It was fun to actually be able to stand on my own 2 feet and say, this is what I think. Is it a Christmas movie or not?
Yeah.
And I won't spoil that just yet. We're going to get there in a bit. So yeah, thank you for giving me an excuse to watch it after 36 years since it came out.
Well, I don't think you would have watched it when you were 2 or anything like that. I think you probably had a smaller time period in which to watch it. But I didn't know that. That really surprises me.
Yeah. Well, what about you then, Ruthie?
I hadn't watched it until very recently. I always, it appears around Christmas and just think that's not the Christmas movie vibe that I would like to go for. And is it even a Christmas movie? But I have watched it since then, and oh my goodness, it is an excellent film. It's got so many amazing one-liners as part of it, and actually just watch it because I've just finished watching it just now, and I watched it with Nat, and we're like, there is some quite profound stuff in here, in amongst all the silliness and overacting and dramatic bullet holes exploding and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, I really like it. It's moving. It's great.
Okay.
What about you, Kate?
Great. Okay, so, confession time.
You did watch it when you were 2.
In my late teens, early 20s, I had a little bit of an obsession with Alan Rickman, specifically Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves era Alan Rickman.
Yes, girl.
Which is also Die Hard era Alan Rickman. So, I watched Die Hard then. I think because it was on TV around Christmas and I watched it anyway, and because by that point, all my siblings had moved out, and also my parents... Well, my dad was an archdeacon at that point, so like I spent a lot of time I was able to have control over the television, right? So I watched it then. I've watched it again. I watched it again last year when I was reflecting. Is it a Christmas movie? Watched it again yesterday in preparation for this. I think I'm not a big fan at the moment of action movies, so I did zone out a few times, especially because I know the movie. I'd zone back in when Alan Rickman came back on screen. I'd just hear his voice and say, oh yes, that Alan Rickman. Doing this weird pseudo-German accent, but still very recognisably Alan Rickman's voice, which was weird.
And then he does an American accent at one point as well.
Yeah. Which is so strange.
Which reminded me of how much he sounds... Benedict Cumberbatch sounds like Alan Rickman. And he sounded like Doctor Strange when he did his American accent.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's fun. I quite like Bruce Willis movies anyway. Like, as long as you're not taking them too seriously. But the question is it a Christmas movie? So, gut ruling.
Well, Bruce Willis said on tape it's not a Christmas movie.
What?
Yeah.
So according to one of the
John
actors,
McClane says it is not a Christmas movie.
That's a character's name. I don't think we gave the character's name, but yes. John McClane.
I beg to differ. My gut is that it is a Christmas movie. What are your guts?
My gut says that it is a seasonal movie and may or may not be a Christmas movie depending on what your definition of a Christmas movie is.
Oh golly, we've got the seasonal word thrown out. That's like saying something's festive. Okay, interesting. Ruthie, what's your gut tell you?
My gut has changed over the years. I was a diehard, excuse the pun, this is not a Christmas movie person, and I am now a convert to this is a Christmas movie. I took Nat to go to the cinema to see it because when we were in York, the cinema released it around Christmas time, and it was like a special showing, and so I surprised Nat with tickets to go, thinking I was adamant it's not a Christmas movie, but I know you think it is, so I'll go and watch it with you. And we went to the cinema together, and at the end of the cinema showing of it, I had changed my mind.
Wouldn't it have been funny if Nat had come out and thought, yeah, no, you're right, it's not a Christmas movie?
So I think in order to properly answer this question, is Die Hard a Christmas movie, we need to first ask what makes a movie a Christmas movie, or what makes a story a Christmas story.
What is Christmas? The priests ask themselves.
We don't know.
Yes, does a Christmas movie...
Someone ought to tell us before December.
have an explicit Christian Christmas message? That's the first question.
Does it have Christ in it?
No.
And does it have a mass in it? If it doesn't have Christ or a mass, it's not a Christmas film.
Well, it's not a Christ mass film, yeah. But, no. I don't think Christmas movies necessarily have to have the nativity story as part of it. But if it does have the nativity story as part of it, I think that's pretty much automatic.
So, I mean, how about we... Yeah, let's sort of start with naming what we think are movies that we're certain are Christmas movies, and then kind of pick out what we think are the elements that, if we were to design a perfect Christmas movie, like, what elements does it need to have? So, for example, I think the quintessential Christmas story is A Christmas Carol, where you have someone whose life is turned around, and they learn about compassion and being kind to people and love, and there is that kind of transformation for good in there. And so you've got A Christmas Carol, A Muppet Christmas Carol, The Grinch.
I was going to say, obviously, the Muppet
you've
version,
got The Grinch,
no
and you've got I was thinking of another one, but it slipped my mind. But
hold on, I feel I need pen and paper.
Any story where you have a character who is initially kind of very grumpy and Scroogey, but kind of learns to embrace the spirit of Christmas, which is generosity to neighbour and love, and It's a Wonderful Life as well, that kind of sense of personal transformation for good, ideally through interaction with the kind of Christmas story, but at the very least with a sense of kind of transformation personally.
Okay.
Okay.
I now have pen and paper to write things down, because I think we're going to forget all this if we just talk it. and then it will help with social media for me to come up with a scale of Christmas.
Yeah.
So definite Christmas movies are Christmas
The Grinch.
Carol,
Wonderful Life.
Wonderful Life.
The Grinch.
Yeah.
And that's because they all have in
they've got
common
that
that story arc of transformation, which we could call from cruel to good, from meanness to generosity.
Well, it's a Scrooge story, let's face it. The Grinch and It's a Wonderful Life are basically a Christmas Carol told slightly differently. And they are also all set at Christmas.
Yeah, set at Christmas.
Well, I would like to jump in now with some of my sort of top sort of Christmas movie. I'm going to throw Love Actually into the mix.
Great, yeah.
Not only because it is set in that festive time up until Christmas, but because it's got a real emphasis on different bonds of love. Romantic, familial, erotic, friend and platonic love. And there's a real sense of family within the film, as well as having a lot of those cultural trademark ideas of the school nativity, Christmas shopping, the Christmas work party. And those are staples of the Christmas idea in the West.
It does.
It also has Alan Rickman. Is Alan Rickman
a factor of what makes a Christmas movie a Christmas movie? Does that mean that all of the Harry Potter movies are Christmas movies?
Sensibility.
Alan
question
Rickman
mark?
with a question mark.
I'll convert you all to a great love of Alan Rickman. He's such a great guy.
Oh, I think he's wonderful as Colonel
It's
Brandon in
Sensibility, a Christmas movie.
That's
what I think. There's also another element, ritual, when you watch the movie. So a movie may not necessarily be set at Christmas, or explicitly about Christmas, but if you watch it every year as part of your family ritual, then surely that can make it a Christmas movie.
I have one of those, which I think is a Christmas movie anyway, which is White Christmas. So I love watching White Christmas and wrapping presents. That's the kind of thing that I love doing. And that's kind of a bit of a, good coming out of difficulties and people finding love and, that kind of thing.
Okay, here's a question. Is it possible to have a movie which you watch around Christmas and is set at Christmas, but is not really a Christmas movie? Because I'm going to be controversial here. I love Home Alone. I watch Home Alone every year around Christmas. I don't know whether it's actually a Christmas movie.
Ooh.
Now, here's the thing. Like Die Hard, I haven't actually seen Home Alone.
Really?
What I know of it, I would say that if we are saying that Die Hard is a Christmas movie...
But Home Alone has to be.
I think you had the same thought as me. I think Home Alone is as well. I think they both
They're the
do...
same movie, except for different age groups.
Movies. They basically are.
They're about one person fighting against a threat, invaders.
The forces of evil.
One with extreme prejudice and death, and one with pranks.
Yeah.
But I think...
Or to get back with a girl with a big perm. Yeah.
But I think if we're talking about the timing of the movie being at Christmas, but maybe you don't watch it at Christmas, we could put forward the director Shane Black did the films Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and also Iron Man 3. And so both of those could be considered to be Christmas movies.
There's also A Nightmare Before Christmas.
Is
that a Halloween
It's an
movie?
in-between
Or is it a
movie.
Christmas movie? Or does it span both genres?
It's the movie you watch in between Halloween and Christmas. It's a November.
It's a November movie.
I've also never watched A Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh my goodness, we're just adding to the list of all the movies that Ross has to
That's
watch.
quite scary.
So, what have we got so far? So we've got that transformation arc.
Yeah.
Ruthie, do you want to take us through the list?
Okay, so we've got so far about definite Christmas movies include Christmas Carol, preferably the Muppets version, Wonderful Life, Grinch, Love Actually, White Christmas. And key factors in the movies being things like a transformational arc, someone going from cruel to good, like Ebenezer Scrooge, being set at Christmas, talking about bonds of love, different types of love, and Alan Rickman.
I would like to put in a pitch as well for the use of Christmas music as part of the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Which Die Hard does.
Yeah, it's full of ode to joy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. How about as well, there needs to be, I think there needs to be something about sort of how we relate to other people. We've already sort of had that kind of transformation from Grump to Christmas-filled spirit joy. But I'm thinking of things like Miracle on 34th Street.
Great one.
Where there's that kind of sentimental, kind of heartwarming, kind of how we relate to the people around us.
A Christmas film needs to warm the cockles of one's heart.
Yes.
Yes.
Warm the cockles of the heart.
I think and that involves Santa, doesn't it? Santa being a big factor in Christmas movies. And there's one coming out this year, I think it's called Red One, or something like that.
Yeah, Red
which,
One.
Looks like Santa's been kidnapped, and it looks like a Christmas movie for the tough guys. And will that be counted as a Christmas movie? Because that's definitely the same. From the trailers, it's in the same realm as Die Hard.
Yes.
I think so. I think if it includes Saint Nicholas in some way, shape, or form, it would be counted as a Christmas film. I'm thinking of also of the Netflix animated film Klaus.
Oh, that was
which
beautiful.
Is beautiful.
So nice.
And Arthur Christmas as well springs to mind.
Yeah, that's nice as well.
Yes. And Rise of the Guardians, which is about Jack Frost, but also has Santa
Easter
and
Bunny,
it has the
Tooth
Easter
Fairy
Bunny as well. Yeah. But it is a winter movie, and it is about a character learning to kind of open his heart and kind of... Yeah, I love Rise of the Guardians. It's such a good movie. Highly recommend if you haven't watched it.
So, all of these things, all the things that we're mentioning so far, a lot of the kind of rom-coms that come out around Christmas do not necessarily count as Christmas movies. They just happen to be romantic movies set at Christmas.
Are we harking back to our Hallmark episode?
Oh,
yeah.
I miss those days.
I'm afraid in preparation for this, I was thinking I'm going to upset Ruthie by saying I don't think a lot of those Hallmark movies are Christmas movies.
Well, I would, but we've talked about warming the cockles of one's heart.
Warming the cockles.
And often there is,
true.
There is that transformation within a story of a Hallmark film. Whether it is the hard-hearted businesswoman goes to the rural town where she grew up and reconnects and whatnot. So I don't know. I think you're being very quick to dismiss our Hallmark favourites.
Don't get on me again.
Maybe. I think it's the kind of levels of Christmas.
This is
the degrees of Christmas. A first degree Christmas movie.
I think there's a pyramid that needs
versus
to be
a
created.
third degree Christmas movie. I think, there's that kind of emotional transformation, warming the cockles of the heart, and a lot of it is then individually how that story relates to you. So a movie like Die Hard, or perhaps Red One, will connect for someone who really likes action movies, in a way that, some people connect really well to romantic rom-com Hallmark type movies. Some people
don't.
really
relate
like
to
those.
Alan Rickman being in a movie. Some people don't.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't know who those people are, but
I don't know who those people are.
So what we're saying is the Christmas
Mm.
movie is in the eye of the beholder?
Mm.
Is that what we're saying? Or are there objective?
Can you fully define it?
Because also, the Nutcracker,
Oh, yeah.
that's also a Christmas story. My family used to go to Christmas plays. There was a theatre in Cumbria we used to go to, and they always did a Christmas play, Christmas performance, not a panto play. So things like the Nutcracker, things like the Snow Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Narnia, of course.
Narnia.
Is Narnia a Christmas movie?
It does feature Santa.
It features Santas. It has winter.
How much Christmas do you need for it to be a Christmas movie? So, like, my favourite, Beauty and the Beast, does feature a bit of a scene at Christmas. But then there's also the Beauty and the Beast Christmas movie, An Enchanted Christmas, which definitely is a Christmas.
Yeah. Okay, I would say you have to have at least 70% of a movie has to be set around Christmas for it to be a Christmas movie.
70%?
Well, it has to be more than half. I'd say 2/3, I think, needs to be about Christmassy, because otherwise... So Narnia, Chronicles of Narnia, Lion, Witch and Wardrobe, there is a Christmas aspect to it, but actually it's more of an Easter story, because it's about the resurrection that comes after.
But there's a redemption arc.
The death of winter.
There's different kinds of love.
It is a redemption.
It's about a family.
Yeah.
It's about a family.
Probably got Christmas music.
But I think... But it's more than just a Christmas movie.
It does have Santa. Just a Christmas movie.
Wow. Okay, that's quite...
No, what I mean is... What I mean is, so there are movies which are definitely not just a Christmas movie, they are Christmas movies, big letter, Christmas movies, and that's the story they tell. They don't necessarily branch out beyond that Christmas genre, in the sense of, you wouldn't necessarily watch it and also think, oh, this works also as an Easter story or a Halloween story, or like Nightmare Before Christmas. Is it a Halloween story? Is it a Christmas story? It's kind of both. So there are movies which cover a larger time span, a multitude of seasons, and there are movies which are very much, this is a Christmas, something for us to think about at Christmas, and they've become things we only watch often at Christmas, like It's a Wonderful Life, The Grinch,
the Vicars Dibley Christmas special.
Absolutely.
The Vicars Dibley Christmas special.
Yeah.
So I think a Christmas movie needs to have a focus on the Christmas season rather than just a fragment of the story. Like you said, Beauty and the Beast has a small Christmas moment.
Yeah, there's a wintry moment.
There's a wintry moment. I think you need more than just a moment of the story for it to be a Christmas movie.
We're turning into the people that no one is going to want to watch a Christmas movie with, because we'll be sat there going, now is this really a Christmas movie? Could I watch this in July?
Well,
People would say Frozen is a Christmas movie because it's all about snow, but it is set
in the summer.
Exactly.
But but then does that make it a seasonal movie rather than a Christmas movie? So I would say a seasonal movie is one which we watch during the season over winter, the holidays season, as they call it in America, not specifically Christmas.
But we need to be careful when we think about this as well, because America, where a lot of these movies are produced, has Thanksgiving. So and that's bigger than Christmas in a lot of places in America. And so a film like Planes, Trains and Automobiles is a Thanksgiving film, but could get caught up as a Christmas film because it happens at winter and there's snow and it's all about family and the warming of the cockles of your heart, etc., etc., etc. So we do need to be very aware of cultural norms from country to country as to, is it a Christmas film or a holiday festive film?
Yeah. Okay, so as Christians, as vicars, I think I would like to, if I'm putting on my professional hat, I would say a Christmas movie, especially if it was one that I was going to refer to during Advent, you know, if I did a preaching series on Advent, or I did an Advent course, or a Christmas themed sermon where I'm referring to a movie, I'd want it to include something of the good news of Christmas. The Christmas message.
Okay, that's a really interesting idea. So let's run with that.
Yeah.
What is the good news of Christmas?
I know this one. Jesus.
Well done, Ruthie.
Thank you. Gold star.
And what makes Jesus so special?
Yeah, as a side note, I did a messy church the other day, and bless them, I was asking them questions, and I was asking them who was important in God's kingdom, and they said, Jesus!
Oh.
You know, in very much a...
You're not wrong, kid.
That we know this is the answer to the question, even if we don't understand why it's the answer to the question.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Excellent.
So what is the good news? Well, it's Jesus. It's the birth of hope. Hope in light in the darkness. And peace on earth. And the promise that God is with us and wants to lead us in better ways of living and relating to one another.
Amen.
Amen.
Hallelujah. So, with that in mind, shall we go back to Die Hard and ask whether we find... Do we find ideas around the good news of Christmas within Die Hard?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, right, Ruthie, you're in charge of our list. So,
do you want us to go through the full list, or just that particular of good news at Christmas and God with us?
Well, let's start off with whether it has the aspects of Christmas movies that we outlined, and then we'll move into the more theological minded.
Could we preach a Christmas sermon from Die Hard?
I mean, yes, but that doesn't necessarily make it a Christmas movie. That means I'm just used media.
Let's start with our lists of the elements of a Christmas movie.
So, is it a movie that warms the cockles of your heart?
My cockles were warmed.
You were warmed. Gently warmed.
I think,
and not just from Alan Rickman.
Pay enough... not just from Alan Rickman. I think if you pay enough attention, your cockles can be warmed.
The bit with Al and John McClane as they come out and they kind of see each other and it's like, it's you. It's you. I think that my cockles were warmed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's particularly that, actually, it's the relationship between John and Al, who's the LA cop, who does most of the conversations with John via radio. Which, I mean, you want it to be the story between John and Holly, his wife, which is the heartwarming story. But actually, he's a bit of a poo-poo head to her, kind of throughout the story, to be honest.
Let's come back to that because we do have other things on our list which will relate better to Holly. So let's stick. So we've got Al and his relationship to our protagonist John, which is that feeling of warmth and coziness in relationship.
Yes, and the next thing on the list is transformation, and I do think John goes through a transformation. As he said at the beginning, he is a bit like, he doesn't expect his wife to succeed in this new job, and by the end of it, he has that really heartbreaking conversation with Al over the radio, getting the, I've got a bad feeling about this, harking back to Star Wars, and that things are going to go badly, and he wants to tell his wife, you know, I've said I love you so many times, but I've never said I'm sorry. And I think there is a transformation that happens in John and in Holly, actually, as well. Yeah. Not in the bad guys.
I think there's really good conversation between John and Al, as you said, about kind of that of said I love you a lot but not said sorry. I think also his conversations about kind of having done the wrong thing in the past. So there's the kind of heartbreaking story about Al.
Oh, yeah.
One of the reasons he's kind of limiting himself and doesn't have any confidence is because he made a huge mistake. And, you know, one actually which is quite hard to forgive, where he shot a young lad who he thought had a weapon and it was just a ray gun.
Yeah.
Which kind of in today's culture, actually that really is something which is very topical. And as I said, it's hard to... I think in a film nowadays that would be explored a lot more, rather than it's quite almost skimmed over. But what you hear is his regret.
Yeah. And he has his redemption arc, because at the end he gets one of the bad guys. He's able to shoot his gun again. Hooray!
Yeah.
Note the sarcasm in there, but...
Yeah, note the sarcasm there. I think we have to put aside a certain... Because it's an action movie...
In America.
Set in America, there's a lot
There's
of
going to be a
murder.
lot of pew-pews.
There's lots of killing, lots of explosions, not much diving into the kind of grappling with how are we actually feeling about all of this death at Christmas. That's what, when I consider whether Die Hard isn't a Christmas movie, that's what always I stick with, is there's just the amount of violence in this movie doesn't, for me,
make it festive,
make me feel Christmassy.
Okay.
But you could make an argument that, you know, the fighting against evil...
My argument against that would be, if we were to draw along the whole idea of the light shines in the darkness and the darkness does not overcome it, one could say that, yes, the terrorists are bringing about a darkness into Nakatomi Plaza, and John McClane represents the light, and who is not overwhelmed by it. I mean, in many ways, he is nearly overwhelmed by it, because he is not quite a Christ figure, but there is something in there.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of that classic moment where he's in the tunnel in the air ducts with the lighter, and I feel like you could have the caption under there: "The light shines in the darkness. The darkness cannot overcome it."
Or particularly, there's that moment after he's realised that he made a mistake trusting Hans Gruber, Alan Rickman, pretends to be American and pretends to be one of the hostages to sort of trick John. And John falls for it.
Do you think so?
And it's that... Well...
I'm not sure he does.
He kind of has that... Maybe I wasn't paying enough attention. But there's a kind of moment afterwards where you see him... He is exhausted emotionally and physically.
Yeah.
And he still perseveres. And he stands up for what is right, and he does what is right, not what is easy. It would be easy for him to follow the instructions of the police commissioner who's outside saying, hide and let us deal with it. Or, to, play along with the terrorists and just sit there and let them do what they want. But he doesn't. He continues fighting for what, for him, is right and just.
He also has a big moral decision to make, doesn't he, when that Joker is his name Ellis?
Harry Ellis, yeah.
Yeah, where he's pretending to do a big deal and trying to sort things out, and saying, John has to make that decision of, does he give up the detonators and everyone is screwed, or does he keep hold of them and Ellis dies and he decides to keep hold of them? And there's lots of moral wrestling as part of this too.
Well, and him begging Ellis, he says, because Ellis, is it really interesting, because that character could have revealed that Holly is John's wife.
Does he?
So
that's good.
Holly is going by her maiden name because it's a Japanese company, and their explanation in the movie is that because it's a Japanese company, they see married women as having one foot out the door. It's kind of a subtext of Holly and John are estranged, and maybe she's going by her maiden name to separate herself, or maybe she just wants to go by her maiden name. Who cares? Come on, it's the 21st century now.
To be fair, it wasn't then.
But it wasn't then. Even then, late 80s, John, you're being a bit backward, mate.
Aww.
But so it's not clear to the connection for the terrorists. It's not obvious.
Yeah.
That she and John are married. And Ellis could have revealed that connection. Because the ideal leverage for the terrorists would be to say, well, we're going to kill your wife if you don't.
Yeah.
If you don't play along with us.
Okay.
Ellis instead pretends to be a long-standing friend of John, and that John is his guest. So in a way, Ellis is doing something honourable there.
Yeah.
Oh, let's not get into Ellis. I'd rather stick with John McClane being a bit of a light in the darkness. But yeah, he's got a moral arc, moral questions. But I think there's also, beyond having to make those big moral decisions, there is something about the spirit of the character. The spirituality, if you like, of John McClane is one of perseverance, one who seeks justice. And will break the rules, break human rules to see that done. Yeah. Right, what was next on our list?
Is it set at Christmas?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Move on.
Yes.
Boom, next. Does it wrestle with or talk about bonds of love and different types of love?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, we've already talked about Al and John, but you do also have John and Holly. And actually, we haven't mentioned this yet. Holly is a Christmas plant.
It is a
Holly!
Christmas name.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So throwing that in there very quickly. And we know that there are children as well. We see how the press use the children of the family.
Ugh.
I mean, that's disgusting, and the media still haven't changed their ways. But yes.
Yeah.
It's messed up, but there's also the two brothers who are part of the group who... their love goes in a different way. So he seeks revenge for John McClane kills his brother, and so he seeks revenge for that. And there isn't that forgiveness, or well, it's not going to be, but it's a different type of love. Yeah.
So let's talk about John and Holly for a moment, because they have a romantic arc. Or maybe I think, to be honest, John and Al have more of an arc together than John and Holly. But, so we start the movie with John travelling to LA to spend Christmas with his family. They have 2 kids together. The kids are with a nanny. He goes to Nakatomi Plaza, straight to a Christmas party where Holly is. And in the opening, what we have is Holly actually seems quite keen to have John stay with her and be around the kids. And although she is going by her maiden name and she puts the picture of John face down in her office, she seems to have more of an interest in actually repairing their relationship and being a family than perhaps John does, because John is planning to stay with an old colleague and he is eyeing up other women. That was shown at the start of the movie. It's subtle, but he is. Do you not notice that?
No, I didn't see that.
Is that on the aeroplane?
Yeah, he was. There was the air hostess on the aeroplane, and also when he walks into the party, he spots this blonde woman kind of on the other side of the room, and he lingers on her a moment before moving on. So there's kind of this sense that he is not actively flirting with other women, but he is eyeing them up.
Ooh, I disagree. His heart belongs to Holly. I think it's more of a despising LA thing. So he sees like, ugh, there's another blonde woman, and there's that, the couple at the airport and that kind of thing. I think it's
that's
more
really interesting.
Than
I think what we're ultimately seeing is a character who is seeing himself as single or on the way out of a relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then goes on a realisation story. And one of the things I quite like about Die Hard is that although we don't get a lot of Holly, she is independent. It could be her story, and that would be interesting too. But actually, she does an awful lot on her own without John.
Yeah.
She isn't a damsel in distress to be saved.
Yeah.
Heck no! She takes charge. She gets the sofa for the pregnant lady.
After her boss is killed, she's the one who's basically in charge of the company. And she also, she makes a lot of decisions and choices and actions which aren't related to John's storyline. So yes, there is a pregnant colleague, and she goes up to the chief terrorist, the person holding
Alan
him
Rickman,
hostage, and negotiates for
Another
a sofa for comfort. And she also negotiates for bathroom trips as well, in a very kind of practical way, you know, so take us in groups.
Yeah.
Unless you want it to be messy here. She very much has her head on her shoulders.
very professional.
Where otherwise she might be falling apart. Like, if you take into comparison Home Alone and the mother character in Home Alone, where she is rushing back, she's realised she's left her son at home when they went on holiday, and she's kind of rushing to get back home, and she's basically in a panic, and it's very much a sort of, oh, I'm a terrible mum.
Yeah.
And then she does it again the next year. Like, let's just name it, but she doesn't change it much.
And then he encounters Donald Trump, poor kid. Anyway, the
Yeah,
less said
poor
about
kid,
him,
yeah.
the better.
But whereas Holly has a much more of her own agency in this movie. She has her own storyline, which isn't necessary, which although it's connected to John, isn't intrinsically part of his story.
And what we see at the end is these two characters who were at odds with one another at the beginning, walking out reunited. So and actually you don't get a big kiss, you don't get a big romantic sexy moment. You don't need that. Because actually them as a couple, arms around one another, is enough. And
heading into the limo.
Yeah.
Well, heading back to their kids.
Then they spent some time in the limo first. Just saying. Does this film use Christmas music?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Tick. That's a easy one. Nice. Does it feature Santa?
Yes, on the lift coming down.
Yes.
And
there's a
the first person.
Oh yes, there is
the toy Santa.
a Santa model, isn't there?
And Santa is a decoy in the lift. Yes.
Ho ho ho. One that I've written down, which I don't think we actually talked about, is snow. Snow always seems to be a big factor in Christmassy movies. And although, well, we have
we've got glass falling.
I mean, this is in LA, so
yes,
this is in LA.
So I think there are two
unlikely
snow
to snow
things that happen. Isn't cocaine referred to as snow?
Yeah.
Alice is having plenty of snow then.
Yeah.
And when the building explodes, all the papers float down that gives the impression of snow.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of accidentally has snow factors.
Yes.
There you go.
In very loose terms.
Is there a nativity?
Where there is a pregnant woman.
There is a pregnant woman.
And it's Christmas Eve, so it's not Christmas Day yet.
Yeah, and she's a few weeks from giving birth.
Yeah.
I think I'm glad. To be honest, I'm glad they didn't lean into then also trying to shoehorn in
giving birth,
a nativity scene of the woman giving birth.
Oh gosh, nativity.
I think that would have gone a step too far.
Yeah, no, thank you. Right, okay, so we're going to say no nativity.
It's unnecessary. No nativity.
So there's a pregnant woman, and there isn't a specific nativity, but I think there are the kind of characters that you find in a nativity are a factor in it. Let me explain myself better. So in the nativity, it's the kind of surprising people who appear and get the job done. So, like, we have the shepherds who are, low class and they're part of the nativity. You've got the foreigners who appear to be involved in the form of the Magi and all these different factors. And I think there's the kind of the little guy in Die Hard, as in, what's the name of the limo driver?
Argyle.
Argyle.
Oh, yeah.
Argyle helps save the day and takes out the techie terrorist guy. John McClane is a surprise in an unexpected place, in the same way that Jesus is a surprise in a, yes, it was expected place if you read your scripture properly, but we didn't expect him to be a baby. And in the same way that these guys didn't expect a cop from New York to appear. You've got Al, who's the down-and-out cop in some ways, in that he's made mistakes and doesn't think he's redeemable and can't do his job again. So I think there's those kind of nativity-esque factors without there being an actual nativity.
And I think...
Am I completely offbeat?
Well, I mean, if we're going to continue that logic, I would be interested in casting Herod, perhaps as either as Hans Gruber, but also potentially as the LA higher-ups, who are wanting to come in and control the situation, trying to pin down John McClane and take over the situation for themselves.
Or are they the Pharisees, the kind of religious leaders?
Oh, well, we're getting out of the Christmas nativity if we have Pharisees.
Yeah, okay. Can we go back to John? You talked about him being a kind of a Christ... In that he's kind of appearing in an unexpected place.
To Christ figure?
I think what you have is, in a way, John is more the outsider travelling in, so more akin to one of the wise men, because he has a wisdom of that kind of street knowledge. I think what you do have is you have the class divides being thrown together of the kind of the LA elite, as it were, of it in this, fancy office block with a high class office party. And you've got Hans, who is the kind of quite well educated, well spoken, well presented character, who I think is a bit more Herod. And then you have the LA cops. The LA cops and John are very much presented, at least the beat cops rather than the higher-ups, are presented as the kind of everyday, kind of the shepherd characters. Like, not necessarily appreciated, but they're doing their job.
Yeah.
I like some of what you've said. I have a counter that I've been scribbling down here. So... This moves us away from John McClane as the Christ figure, but instead casts him, as it were, as Joseph, with Holly as Mary, and together the two of them are delivering hope and justice into the world. Mary being, Holly stepping into the role of her boss. I've forgotten his name. But she steps in, and in that role of prophet, perhaps. We could cast Herod as the media, who basically go after their children and attack, if you like, an attack on the innocents. That was something I was playing around with. But,
Guys, did we just turn Die Hard into a full-blown nativity movie?
I think we did. I think we're almost there. Okay, let's talk angels. Angels. Where are the angels?
Maybe Al is the angel Gabriel.
Al is definitely Gabriel.
He's the message of good news throughout.
Yeah.
Through the speaker. He's in the right time,
he's
the right place.
I really like this dynamic because Joseph, in our nativity stories, Joseph really struggles with Mary being pregnant, and he is estranged from Mary.
He's going to divorce her.
At the start. He's going to divorce her until he encounters Gabriel and goes through this transformational process.
Oh
wow, okay, so not only is Die Hard a Christmas movie, Die Hard is
there we go.
Full-blown nativity.
Thank you for helping me write my sermon over Christmas. We'll now talk about Die Hard.
And hey, any listeners out there who happen to be preaching over Christmas and you need
You're welcome.
sermon,
we just gave you
welcome.
We just gave you your hook there. Verdict. Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
And it's a nativity.
Specifically, And it's the nativity, specifically one of the versions that we don't tell very much, because a lot of the time the nativities we tell focus on Mary, as they should, but actually...
This is from Joseph's perspective.
This is Joseph's perspective, which is the Matthew version, isn't it?
Yes.
And John McClane is a Joseph figure.
Wow.
Having to accept the changes in his wife's life and the hope that can bring a new life.
So...
Oh, gosh, I'm out of breath.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, we got
gone
there.
through all the factors. So my changing of mind from Die Hard is not a Christmas movie to it is a Christmas movie was mainly around when you would watch it. And I thought, actually, Die Hard you could watch throughout the year. It doesn't seem like a Christmas movie. Whereas when I saw it in the cinema, I thought, there's too much Christmas in here for it to not be a Christmas movie. And so now I'm converted to from an ardent, this is not a Christmas movie, to this is a Christmas movie, to now, actually, this is a full-on nativity story with machine guns.
I think as well, one final thought is that it's okay to watch Christmas films not at Christmas.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of people are engaging with Christmas earlier than they usually would because there's a lot of stressful changes going on in their country's life. And actually, you know what? If you're having a rubbish day and you need to watch a Christmas movie to bring hope back into your spiritual self, you go ahead and you watch that Muppet Christmas Carol in July. That's cool. That's okay.
I do normally try to hold out till December, but actually life has been quite stressful, so I have already dipped into the Hallmark movies that I have found, including one about a footballer at Christmas. And the footballer is an actor called William Moseley, who played Peter in Narnia.
Yes.
So, yes, thank you for that encouragement. I do try to hold up to December, because otherwise I get too excited and peak too quickly. But, yeah, thanks.
I also want to add that a Christmas movie can be, if you watch any movie that warms the cockles of your heart and makes you and helps you to encounter the Christmas message, whatever that means for you, then that can be a Christmas movie for you. Just like we've managed to argue ourselves into a place where Die Hard is a full-blown nativity story. To be honest, it is all very much about your relationship with a movie, with a TV show, with a story, and how much it reveals the hope of the season and the light in the darkness for you.
Amen. Thank you so much, Kate, for bringing us Die Hard. This was great fun, and it did not end where I expected it to. Listeners, what are you watching this Christmas? What is your most Christmassy film that makes you full of hope and brings Christ alive into your heart? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And as you get ready for Christmas, God be with you.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Yippee-ki-yay! Mother of God.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Vicars Watch Dibley. Thank you to Nat for editing our ramblings.
Any opinions expressed are our own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Church of England or any other organisation with which we are affiliated.
If you like our podcast, leave us a review, follow us on social media and share it with your friends. And, as always, bless you for listening.
Did you hear about the new Bruce Willis movie?
No.
It's where Bruce Willis has to go undercover in a retirement home for nuns to stop a terrorist plot. Oh. It's called Old Habits Die Hard.
Excellent. Love that.